To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kimball.
Here.
Stickle.
Here.
Carville.
Here.
Weber. Here. Wheeler. Coleman.
Approval of the agenda, is there any additions or deletions?
No, there's not.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Bernie, and seconded by.
Roll call vote. Coleman.
Yes.
Kimball.
Yes.
Stickle.
Yes.
Carville.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Okay, so public comment is next on the agenda. Kathy, can you go ahead and address the
Stay anywhere.
That's fine, yeah, as long as you can hear me.
I'm a Booster Club fan, and we're just hoping, we presented our case last week, or the last meeting, not last week, and we hope to strongly take into consideration the good aspects of having a program, and it's not gonna cost anything at this point to sign it. We're already into the other conference, and we thoroughly hope that you folks will go ahead and proceed with voting us into this co-op agreement. And, you know, it's got a lot of good things to it. It shows teamwork, leadership. It has academic scholarships that are even attached to it, because they look at that and say, you're a team player, you gotta have good grades to play. You know, so there's a lot of good positive things to it. Plus, it's a community thing, and, you know, it gives the kids something to do, keep them off the street. And I thoroughly hope that you guys will vote yes on this, as does the rest of the Booster Club. And it's just a good program. We don't want to see it not get voted in, because if you do, then it kills it. And it doesn't just affect our Falcon players in the 3 schools, it also has a large impact on the Cyclones, which is your JFL league coming up to play. They look forward to playing on the big field. And it really gives the community kids something to do, an activity, and I hope that you vote yes on this. Thank you.
So it is down later after our closed session for discussion.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is to adjourn the closed session. I need a motion at this time to adjourn closed session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act. Discuss the following agenda items: appointment, employment, compensation, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired, and student discipline on case 5. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
Also move.
Dixie, and is there a second?
I'll second.
Tina.
Roll call vote. Kimball.
Yes.
Stickle.
Yes.
Carville.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes. The board will now go into closed session. All members of the public and staff are requested to leave the meeting room at this time. So we reconvene to open session. We move on to new business and discussion of action items. 9.1 is approved land purchase contract. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote. Kimball.
No.
Stickle.
Yes.
Carville.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes. 9.2, approve architectural service contract. Is there a motion to approve that?
I'll make the motion.
Tiana? And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Dixie. Roll call vote. Stickle.
Yes.
Carville.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Coleman. Kimball.
Yes.
9.3, discussion on football co-op renewal.
I have included in your packet, the bills for 10-11 12-13 and 13-14. Washburn, right now, we have no co-op renewal, and we cannot vote on it tonight because Washburn has told us that they will not renew the co-op agreement unless we bill them on a per capita basis. They feel under the current billing and cost structure that they can't afford to be in the co-op anymore. You also have a spreadsheet in front of you. Total cost, this spreadsheet is based on the amount of players that we had beginning the season. I was given a roster with 30 boys on it, and it was based on last year's costs. Last year's costs were $44,738. If we were to be billed on a per capita basis, out of those 30 boys that were on the team, 17 of them were Midland students. That would give us a per capita cost of $1491.27, which would be, based on 17 boys, a cost of $25,351.53. Now, if it was billed 3 ways, like it's been traditionally billed, the cost was $14,912.67. If we were to be billed on a per capita basis based on last year's costs, in this year's roster, our costs would go up 70%. If this ends up being with just Henry and Midland in it, we would assume a 50% increase in cost as Henry would. So at this point, what we need to do is determine if we're willing to renew the co-op agreement based on a per capita billing. And if we are not willing to assume those additional costs, I will need to inform Washburn of that. And then they will not renew the co-op agreement. And then we would either continue to base it on a per capita basis with Henry or split the cost evenly. Also keep in mind, when this co-op agreement was drafted back in 2001 or 2002, I believe, the initial co-op agreement that's been renewed every year, Henry demanded that infrastructure of the field be assumed by the Midland School District. I would recommend, since that football field, if we were to renew this co-op agreement, that is only being used for a football program, that infrastructure of the program be assumed by whoever is a signator of that co-op agreement. That would include mowing, any repairs, fertilizing the field, where all the costs, infrastructure, coaches, and supplies would be assumed by whoever's a signator of that co-op agreement.
Okay. Tell me what that means. That means that person's name is on the paper, that school district's name is on the paper by the signatories, or
Yes, whoever's, what happens is, when we draft a new co-op agreement, it has the specific guidelines in it, who's going to assume costs, where the games will be played. If it's going to be, and I'm just going to use what we've done in the past, that co-op agreement is voted on by all 3 school boards. The board president and the secretary of all 3 school boards sign that co-op agreement. That co-op agreement is then sent to the IHSA, and they approve it or not. If they do approve it, which they always have, is then we have created a co-op that's sanctioned by the IHSA. Then we're able to play football.
So under Washburn's current proposal, their idea of per capita is based on the number of players on the team,
Yes.
not on enrollment.
Yes.
To me, that seems like a very flawed way to do it. From a financial planning and budgeting standpoint, one year they could have 2 students come out for football, the next year they could have 10.
Right.
I don't know how you plan to allocate costs based on that.
It would be very difficult. Keep in mind, similarly, last year 17 of the players were our players. It could fluctuate where we could only have 5 and Henry would have the majority of players, or Washburn could. So it would be very difficult to budget for it. As you can see, the costs over the past 3 years have been very close. So it's relatively easy to budget, but right now, I think Washburn is speculating that they had, I think, 3 kids this year. And I think it'll probably, they feel it'll be in that neighborhood for quite some time. But I'm speculating when I say that.
All 3 kids are in 9th grade too, I'm surprised there's not 10, 11, or 12 out of Washburn. That's really.
And it could be a down year for them, I don't know.
I would feel a lot more comfortable with their proposal if it was based on enrollment, as opposed to number of players in the team. That can fluctuate mid-season, then how do you adjust costs at that point? You divide them up, we had 3 players for
Sure.
half the season, you had 4 for the other half. You're just getting into a nightmare, I think, with that.
I do understand Washburn's position though. It's a
Oh,
lot of
I do
money to
too.
pay for 3 players.
I do too.
And if I was on the Washburn school board, I'd be saying the same thing.
But then again, if they want to provide that opportunity for their kids, I feel they should
Yeah.
pay based on enrollment. That's the plan I think Coach Seibert presented a couple meetings ago as well, was based on enrollment. I would be comfortable throwing that back out.
You're talking about at Washburn?
He presented it to us a couple meetings ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, throwing it back to Washburn.
Okay.
Say, if you want to do per capita, that's fine, but not based on number of players on the team, but do it by high school enrollment.
So they even get, or would they go for that or not?
Pardon me?
Would they go for that, or is that off
I
the
don't know,
table?
I would have to discuss it with them, but my interpretation and how it was presented to me, that it would be based on participants within the football program itself. They're in a tough position financially, as all school districts are.
Participations meaning just players, though, not cheerleaders or band members.
No, I think it would be everything.
Oh, per capita, per all of it, so they had more than.
They've never, to my knowledge, have ever sent band members over. And I think they've had
Some cheerleaders.
They've had some cheerleaders. They've had pretty good participation for cheerleaders.
And do we have any idea if Henry, what they're thinking about all this, or they're just waiting for us to make moves? Or-
I think they're waiting for us.
I'm wondering if they would be able to, or would consider doing some of the infrastructure costs. Be willing to take that on? I think that's only fair that they would do that if we were to maintain this program.
In your report, you can give us the infrastructure costs.
No. Infrastructure is minimal. It hasn't been that much. I mean, you're looking at mowing, you're looking at fertilizer, any repairs. It hasn't been much. The boosters have assumed a lot of those costs. And we're grateful for them. I think there was, like, when the boosters did the field last year, there was a seed cost of like $1,700, but that's probably the largest amount we've ever had in quite some time for
Also,
infrastructure.
a lot of local community members have volunteered time in that too,
Sure they have.
to make that possible.
Well, I don't know, I personally, if we could work something out with Henry that was agreeable, I would be willing to see us try this program for 1 more year. And then if it does not, if it ends up like it is right now, then we could not do it.
Okay. What do you want me to tell Washburn then? Do you want me to offer this, talk to them about doing it based on enrollment?
Yeah, I think that's only fair, because like Brian said, I mean, how can you
Right.
gauge the whole someone's out for half the year, someone's injured, that would be a nightmare. I just think it needs to go on their
No, I
enrollment.
would assume the per capita means you sign up and play, whether you
Right,
play
whether,
every week or not, or.
the beginning enrollment
Yeah,
is what we would
yeah.
have to base our budget on, so, whatever, that 30 kids that we have that sheet of, and if they're out on the first day or whatever, or before the first game, however it works.
Right, but
Um,
then you still have the problem with budgeting for next year,
true,
based on that, because you have no idea how many kids are gonna come out
true.
the following year. I think enrollment's still gonna lower their cost considerably,
Mhm.
it'll come in half.
Well, I think Marilyn's made a point before, it isn't just the football kids, it's the
No, it's-
band kids, it's the cheerleaders. That's a lot of kids. I don't know how many, but that's a substantial number.
Well, I don't have a problem giving the program an opportunity to build itself. But if it continues to go down, I don't think we have a lot of choice. We can't continue to forfeit games and all that. But I don't have a problem supporting this and see how it goes. That's where I'm
We
at.
know, didn't, Coach say last time that, I don't know when the football camps are,
Spring.
There's
Yeah,
something he
there's
sets
one
up in
in
spring, like a 2-day or something
so
like
you
that.
would kind of have an idea if there were kids that were.
And I
But
believe-
okay, but we have to lock ourselves in now,
Right.
correct?
I think the co-op is aware of our situation from what I talked to
I
them about.
believe it's July 1st. I'm not absolutely certain, but we still have time to negotiate this.
If we have that amount of time, I think that would be helpful, we should have an idea whether it's stays the same or whether it's gone.
I will talk to Washburn tomorrow morning, and I'm sure the superintendent will have to discuss it with their board. And I'll discuss it with Henry as well.
Do we do any other sports per capita?
No,
No other events,
We
nothing?
don't,
no.
Yeah, I'm-
Right now,
I'm not
with-
sure I got around per capita.
Henry, we
And
do,
I'm all supporting it.
we co-op with Henry for cross-country and track, and we pay half the cost regardless of how many kids are out for that program. There was one year, probably 7 or 8 years ago, where we had 2 kids, I believe it was track, and we assumed half the cost of it. So it's not per capita with Henry. Similarly, we also have ag, where we do now, that is per capita, that is based on the amount of kids that they have and what our total costs are. We had sent kids up there in the past for industrial technology, and they gave us a per capita cost back.
Is it common when you do a co-op?
I don't, you got me. I've never worked in a district that had a co-op until I came to Midland. The districts I had worked in before either didn't have football or had their own programs. So,
I agree with Bernie, if we are considering going forward with it, if it's more of a fair split than the per capita. I don't agree with an increase of 70%.
Especially when we got the ground and all.
Yeah, I think that if they're willing to split the cost as well,
The good thing is by enrollment, it won't be 70%. That's, they're playing now, by students, well, they only have 3,
yeah.
is what they're playing on.
So what's that do to our cost?
Our costs will increase slightly, nowhere near 70%. And if Washburn just drops out completely, obviously they're gonna go up more than if we split based on enrollment,
Right.
which is I'm pretty sure what Washburn's gonna do if we just flat out tell them no.
That's my gut. But I do understand why they're doing it.
Oh, yeah.
I feel horrible for them. Okay.
okay.
all right, I'll talk to them tomorrow. We have a board meeting on the 10th, and I'll bring back a update to you on the 10th on where they're at on it. Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, next item is a discussion of the middle school cafeteria fire egress installation.
There's a drawing that's in your packet of the fire egress installation. Architects have estimated it between 6,000 and 10,000. Wanted to get your opinions of it, and if you thought it would be a project that we need to move forward with.
The fire egress, doesn't this also serve the area where we just put a table, benches out there or something?
Excellent.
I
I-
haven't,
I-
yeah.
I have no problem with it.
I'm just having a hard time picturing exactly where that is.
That's the cafeteria,
Yeah.
right off the cafeteria. If we had all those students in the cafeteria, the closest egress is the front door of the building, or into the sixth grade wing. This way, if we have, 100 kids in there, they can immediately go outside of the building.
Plus, I think it would open up, that's a really nice courtyard. And teachers could use it for classroom, I mean, it would,
Serve multiple
it
purposes.
really would, because there's no good way to get there.
Mm-mm.
No, there's not.
I mean, it could be incentive, if kids do something good to have their lunch out there, because that would be easy and still supervised.
That would be a good idea to do more of your cookouts or something that we've done out there in the past.
Sure.
I mean, the kids really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this. My only concern was that I had emailed you about the material used for that decking, to use the,
Composite stuff.
right, and not the pressure treated, because that pressure treated stuff requires maintenance and I think there's something more maintenance free.
This does not require board action either, because it's under the $25,000 bidding requirement.
Would they still be able to do this spring?
I hope so.
I mean, this fall? I mean, this fall?
Would involve a mason and a carpenter.
I bet you could find one or something.
Plenty of them around here.
We'll never be able to do that. Cut doors in the cafeteria?
Kids aren't around?
The snow.
A little dust on your hat, is that in the community or what?
That's
Saw
all
it,
right by me.
didn't we?
Well,
The cooks, cafeteria people may not like it.
well,
Put a little grit in your part.
okay,
What's next?
is that it? Yep. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote. Kimball,
Yes.
Pickle,
Yes.
Fargo,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Yes.
Colvin. That's signatures for you.